My name's Patricia Dineen, and I was president in 1998. I became involved with APEGNB when Huntley Wishart, who was then executive director, gave me a telephone call and asked me if I would let my name stand for council. And this was back in the mid-late 80s. And at the time, I said yes, never expecting to take it much further. And then Huntley called me again and asked if I'd let my name stand for vice president. And I said yes, never expecting anything to develop. But then I was elected vice president, and then automatically VP rolls into president. And I was the first female president. Well, my father was an engineer. One of my earliest memories is on a Saturday class, he was teaching something up at UNB, and I was just hanging around. I might have been 5, and all these scribbles on the blackboard, and I figured, yeah, one day I'll be able to understand that. Yeah. He always encouraged astronomy, and he was ambivalent about my becoming an engineer because it was a male-dominated field, and what opportunities would there be for a female? Oh, for sure. I think it's the people I met, and the engineers I met in the province and other provinces, but especially the female engineers that I met in New Brunswick and across Canada. When we look at archives, there were a lot of women in science back in the 60s and 70s doing tremendous things, but we never heard about them because all the focus was on men's accomplishments, although women were working in the background and sometimes in the foreground, accomplishing things in science and engineering. I worked for 15 years before I became president, and I was almost always the sole female engineer where I worked. And so to suddenly serve on council and be president and travel and meet all these other female engineers was really, really important to me. I don't have any particular funny stories about the time when I was president or on council, but I do remember that Huntley Wishart had a great wit, and the office was always a great place to work and to visit. Huntley's whole demeanor and approach to people, he was a people person, is a people person. Through his approach and humor, could get people to deliver their best all the time. And I also remember specifically Doug Caldwell, another engineer, who never failed to make me laugh at myself, usually. If I could go back in time, I would do it again, of course, but there are things I would do differently. Especially, I would speak in a louder voice to advocate for women. I see what's being done now through the 30 by 30 program, and during that time they also created the chair for women in engineering up at UNB. So many great things have been done. Maybe we could, if I had involved myself more with the women who were practicing in engineering, we might have done them sooner. When I was president, it was Ed Kinley who was the executive director. Huntley had retired, and it was Ed's first year as executive director. And of course, I was new in the position. So I recall that I relied heavily on 2 women in the office who had been there a long time, Rachel Christensen, who was still there, and also Sandra Stayers, who knew the act inside out. We traveled, of course, across Canada, and I would speak at these different AGMs, and Ed would always map out the speech for me, what I had to say, and often he'd have it translated into French. What's kept me involved even after retirement is the idea that there are still committees that I can contribute to, even though I've been retired for some time. And it also keeps me, I like to think, relevant. Over the next 100 years, I see the biggest risk to the profession as being technology. Well, for example, biotechnology and artificial intelligence. Biotechnology, I think, will impact the practice of engineering just the way electronics impacted automation. And of course, artificial intelligence will allow computers and robots to perform the tasks humans do now. But when it comes to biotech products and artificial intelligence products and applications that affect public safety, it's not clear now who's accountable. Their standards haven't evolved, the regulations are not in place. I think it'll be a challenge for professional engineers to remain in control of the decisions made that affect these technologies that will affect public safety. I look back 30 years and see the changes that have taken place to the practice of engineering. What computers have done, and camera equipment, and cellular communications. It's changed the way we practice engineering tremendously. And I suspect now that we're on the cusp of quantum computers. In 2050, 30 years from now, any advice I would give would be just irrelevant.